As we mark the 2024 Africa Day of School Feeding, I would like to reiterate my strong belief in and support for homegrown school feeding. It is one of the most effective programs to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs in Africa, and ensure sustainable development, long-term prosperity, and durable peace across the continent. This is our top priority in OSA and one of the focus of our contributions to the School Meals Coalition. Homegrown school feeding programs can be leveraged to rescue the SDGs. So far, only 15% of the goals have been delivered globally, and 80% of the 140 targets are yet to be reached. Close to half of the targets are experiencing only moderate progress or are severely off track. Around 30% of the targets have seen no movement or regress below the 2015 baseline. On poverty, in 2022, 50 million more Africans were pushed into extreme poverty with the surge in food and energy price. On health, the number of people needing life-saving health assistance in countries affected by conflict increased by 25% in 2022. On education, for the 21-22 school year, more than 12,000 schools closed in 8 countries because of direct attacks, displacement, and fear. This has been eroding state legitimacy and consequently feeding instability. In fact, from an instability standpoint, armed conflict incidents have increased in 3 of 5 sub-regions. 4 African countries accounted for more than 1/3 of world terrorism-related deaths. More than 9 million people were internally displaced by conflict and violence last year, while terrorism-related deaths have decreased by more than 1/3 globally since 2015, they have increased in Africa. In fact, in sub-Saharan Africa, they have doubled. So conflict-affected African countries represent 1/3 of the continent. As these countries share 80 land borders with other African countries, 85% of the continent's population either reside in or share land borders with conflict-affected countries. We need quick wins and interventions with a high multiplier effect. This is what school feeding programs bring to the table. Besides the traditional dimensions, increased scholarization rates, gender parity, nutrition, and health prevention, homegrown school feeding programs can be reconceptualized to play a multi-sectoral entry point role. First, in terms of peace and security, they are an effective intervention to revert the erosion of state legitimacy, helping the states to be present in delivering social services. Consequently, within this context, they should be considered peace and security tools. In his report on promoting durable peace and sustainable development in Africa, the Secretary General proposed leveraging homegrown school feeding to boost state legitimacy and spur the transformative change needed to achieve the SDGs. Second dimension that the new reconceptualize can bring to the table, energy access. Homegrown school feedings can be used to deliver renewable energy solutions, off-grid and mini-grid solutions. How? School feeding programs encourage the creation of locally based management structures, which can be replicated to scale up off-grid energy solutions in Africa. To roll out a school feeding program in a remote village, the UN system goes through a process of co-creation with the community in terms of putting in place management structures. These same structures for homegrown school feeding can be used to roll out renewable energy programs. Third, climate adaptation. By delivering energy access, we are paving the way to the adoption of climate adaptation solutions. Energy is a critical element in the design and implementation of climate adaptation solutions. African countries with reliable energy access can adapt to the impact of climate change, powering technologies from smart irrigation to clean cooking to reduce pollution. Fourth new dimension, food systems transformation. With increase in energy access and while being empowered to adopt climate adaptation solutions, the same community leveraging the homegrown dimension of school feeding as a market to support food systems transformation. But homegrown school feeding should be budgeted and properly financed. Africa must look from within and mobilize domestic resources to finance development activities, including school meal programs. How? A two-track approach can be considered. In the short term, there is a need to increase official development assistance or ODA resources to revamp homegrown school feeding programs in Africa. And this is a win-win situation. From the perspective of Africa's partners, this is an opportunity to increase the effectiveness of ODA flows, since the rate of return of homegrown school feeding programs is $1 to $9. From the African country's side, it is an effective way to start addressing state legitimacy, state presence, instability, and vulnerability. In the medium term, national budgets need to take over the financing of school meals program. For that, part of short-term ODA flows should be earmarked to support African countries in building strong domestic resource mobilization systems, so that in 5 years the national budget is ready to take over the financing of school feeding programs. Homegrown school feeding is the low-hanging fruit that can be tapped immediately to revert the negative trend in implementing the SDGs. Africa and its partners can and must be working hand in hand on this, because a strong Africa is not only a win for Africa, but a win for the world.